The USA, Liberia, and Myanmar are the only 3 countries without metric as the official measurement standard. However, there are quite a few international procedures and processes generally measured in imperial to this day, probably due to the US more than Liberia or Myanmar. But what do I know? Maybe Myanmar is secretly controlling the world from behind closed doors. In aviation, altitude is measured in feet, usually rounded to a 3-digit number representing how many hundreds of feet in the air you should be. So flight level 350 is 350 100 feet, or 35,000 feet. Similarly, speed is measured in knots, which is nautical miles per hour, which itself is different from regular miles, which makes everything more difficult to cross-convert. This is also used in maritiming, so it isn't too problematic. Something that is though, is that Russia and China use meters for altitude through their air traffic control system. So when international planes fly over their airspace, the aircraft needs to have a built-in converter to convert between the meters and feet to allow pilots to quickly convert units, because air traffic control in these countries will make requests in meters. So is it an honourable knight trying to change the status quo to a better standard unit? Or is it making life harder for everyone in a deep-rooted system that isn't broke and everyone knows what's going on, so why fix it? And without bringing politics into the matter, it's hard to say. If you buy a TV, you'll probably buy it in inches. Digital screens have always been measured in inches because the US basically developed the digital screen we know today. The US uses imperial like there's no bloody tomorrow, and so we all just kind of tagged along with them. Old habits die hard, so we still use inches to measure our screens to this day. Oil is traded by the barrel. It's pumped and sold by the barrel. But what's a barrel? How can I tell your barrel's the same size as my barrel? You can't. So naturally, like most imperial units, we came up with a compromise that was close to everyone's individual barrel sizes, but didn't actually exactly fit anyone specifically, essentially making every barrel useless and everyone mad. It's 42 gallons, by the way. In the 1860s, Pennsylvania's oil boom, they decided on this size because it was the heaviest a man could generally carry before it became impossible for a single person. Like digital screens, we've essentially just tagged along and never bothered to change it. The markets use it, the largest organizations use it, so we would have to change substantial infrastructure otherwise. So why bother if the system, although not ideal, is perfectly functional? Clothing's another weird one. You get a chest, waist, height, shoulder. All the measurements are usually in inches. If you buy a tailor's tape measure, this is probably in inches, or at least the primary side is so. This is because apparel is essentially the birth of industry as we know it. The first large industry to industrialize in the Industrial Revolution was clothing and textiles in the United Kingdom, closely followed by the United States. Naturally, these regions used imperial for their measurements, particularly the inch. Not too sure who needs a shirt measured wide in feet. And began mass producing textile on an enormous scale. The economies of scale meant significant and fast development of the technology to produce the clothing, and as such has never been updated. This is another case of it not being worth the cost to replace all of technology that has otherwise used imperial if the measurements work perfectly fine, just are not convertible to metric. Finally, the most well-known case of imperialist propaganda is the TEU, or the 20-foot equivalent unit to size container ship containers. Have you ever slowed down to think about how important standard containers are in the world? And literally every single one of them is measured using imperial units. No clean metric values here. The containers are either 20 feet or 40 feet long, which does not convert nicely. Once again, this evolved from the father of the modern container standards, Malcolm McLean, who was an American trucking entrepreneur. As a full-blooded patriot, he made the call to use the freedom units instead of that stupid metric system. By the time anyone was the wiser that 10 into 10 into 10 was cleaner than 12 into 3 into 22 into 8, the infrastructure had been built out too much. Container ships were already built optimally for the size. Cranes could lift that size specifically. Trucks had beds to seat them properly. Security and safety protocols were designed around this very size. And so, without it dramatically causing catastrophe in the modern world, this may have been an unpopular opinion, but honestly, if it's not broken, so if you can save money not replacing pretty much every standard piece of commercial infrastructure in the world, then why fix it?